Are my let the face breathe unless I'm going out, cause not that this is at 5%. Oh, this is not right.
Yeah, here we go.
Thank you.
I'm sure this is like it got about 15%.
Oh,
These chargers.
they're really bad. We need new chargers.
I appreciate that.
Of course. Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
She didn't let me finish my countdown.
Ooh. Endo. Do we know which mics for guests? Guest mic. I need those numbers. Is it still at a 3?
It's category
1.
1. Gotcha.
Goodness.
Just throw it in teams on a commercial if you can. Category 1. Okay. Kiowa Island. Kiowa.
It's a nice place.
I've never been.
Yeah.
I'm
When
not
Boo
cool
come
enough.
down here, that'd be a good place to visit. Kiowa.
But Jamal, is he gonna drive?
Oh.
Because every single time.
Oh my gosh.
What
You ain't telling
happened?
me nothing that I do not.
Look.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Okay.
I said we go drive the Camaro today.
So just don't click record, just let it roll.
We're not, no, we're not gonna record this.
I didn't ask you what it is.
Okay,
You
you
made a
gotta
plan
go
at the
there and sit
beginning that you were gonna drive back.
Now open up the
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Thank you. Jeez, now it comes down. I guess it's better for TV.
Right now on WIS Midday, tracking Idalia. This is a live look at Kiowa Island this afternoon. The hurricane, now a Category 1, made landfall this morning. Details on when we'll see the biggest impacts here in the Midlands.
Also, we're continuing to see a track as we're working to get Idalia up into the Palmetto State, getting the outer bands right now, but heavy rainfall, gusty winds slated as we press on further today. Stay tuned for more first alert weather updates.
Plus, several school districts across the Midlands are under an early dismissal schedule today. We have a breakdown of schools and times just ahead.
And at 12:30, I'm sitting down with the cardiologist and the Richland County coroner to discuss the importance of echocardiograms, how parents can schedule a screening for their child. WIS Midday starts in 1 minute.
Live from Columbia, this is WIS News 10 Midday. Live, local, now.
Well, we begin tracking Idalia as it travels across northern Florida, lashing the state with heavy rain and gusty winds. It's the strongest hurricane to make landfall in the Big Bend region in more than 125 years. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us on Midday. We're taking a live look at Kiowa Island this afternoon thanks to our Earth Cam.
And the impacts of Hurricane Idalia already being felt there and is moving closer to the Midlands. So let's get a check in with meteorologist Tony Chiavaroli for an update. And Tony, what's exactly the latest with this storm?
All right, guys, we're going to be continuing to see it weaken as it, of course, moves over more landmass now getting into southern Georgia, but still continuing to remain as a stronger, more so weakening, but Category 1 hurricane rolling up towards the Midlands as it, of course, will eventually dissipate to a stronger tropical storm. And as this continues on its path, we see still things very sizable in the way of rain. You know, how this is all going to be continuing at us, how we make that move on forward, and how we get further into this one. Take a check as we see more of it trying to hang together with a little bit more of those wind speeds getting into the low country of South Carolina. But of course, as we get, of course, the update on this track and as it starts to make that move on forward, it's going to be going out to sea. And obviously, this is the best representation. We'll have a lot to come on this. But basically, as we start to see the center of this system make its way out to any portion of the Atlantic Ocean, we're really going to work to start to see more moisture start to dissipate, essentially taking it with it as we eventually get wind speeds to dip back. As, of course, this will continue to make that move on forward, going on into the daytime hours and then evening, where tomorrow we're going to be seeing this continuing out to sea. So as we basically get that point, continuing to see that satellite and radar check again, we are going to be getting a little bit more of this to roll on forward, eventually rolling on out. Now, as we get into, of course, more of these hurricane threats, what we're going to see as this basically banks off, gets out into the Atlantic Ocean, we're going to be seeing, and again, moving on forward, getting a little bit more of these threats forward into the day. So, continuing in, there we go. This is what we're trying to get up for you guys here. As we make a move on forward, it seems like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here trying to get through some of these graphics. For some reason, it keeps jumping back to the last one, but going to try to move this forward for you again. Try to get you into, of course, yes, the tropical storm warning, what is happening here. And as you can see, widespread across the state right now, we are going to get a little bit more of these threats continuing into not just the coast, but even inland as far as Richland County, Lexington County. Now, everyone around the region, even though, of course, we could see a little bit of these impacts trying to push into a portion of the upstate, it's not likely. This is, of course, going to be a good target area where we are going to see heavy rainfall today and likelihood of course, tropical storm force winds. Not just the coast, we could see it even here in our capital city as well. So as we look onward and we work to get a little bit more of these advisories continuing on into the day, this is going to be where we get a point of an also tornado watch in effect. This is going to be until tonight. Now, even though this is only going to be for counties off to our east, you see it really hugging the coast, we can still see some of those threats getting into more eastern portions of Orangeburg County, which is just a little bit encompassed there, getting into Clarendon County, Sumter County as well. It's not going to be impossible for us to see some isolated tornado risks, especially as this outer band of what we're going to see with this storm system pushes up and gets closer to the center of the Midlands, as the obvious center of the storm tries to stay closer to the coast. And that's why we're going to see a little bit more of these better impacts hugging the coastline and those counties to our south and east. Either way you slice it, though, this is going to be something we could see extended into our viewing area. We're going to be getting the heavy rain soon, winds starting to pick up the pace. And with that current track right now, thinking we're past, hopefully, some of these technical difficulties, I'm going to be sending it over to Chandler Jordan, meteorologist, of course, continuing to help out with good team coverage this afternoon. And of course, Chandler, what's going on now with this track as we work to see it pushing up towards the Midlands?
Yeah, Tony, you know, this is a very expansive storm system across much of the southeastern United States. Had landfall a little earlier this morning, of course, and you can see the expansive area of showers and even some thunderstorms that are starting to move closer and closer to the Palmetto State. And as we head a little later into this afternoon, some of these bands of heavier rain that you're seeing on our satellite radar picture, especially especially where we have the yellows, the oranges, and even some reds. These are going to start to build farther into the Midlands. And a couple of these thunderstorms we've been watching very closely in the First Alert Weather Center, especially the ones that have been building in near Hilton Head and Charleston a little earlier this morning, closer to 11:45. There was a tornado warning in Charleston briefly, but that has since expired. And there's a couple of these storms that as they build in off of the ocean and over the low country, they're showing some signs of rotation. And that's one of the threats that we've been talking about all throughout this morning, is the opportunity for us to have a brief tornado or two. The better chance for that is going to be east of Lexington and Richland counties, more so closer to the low country and into the coastline. But of course, places like Orangeburg County, Clarendon counties as well could have a tornado warning or two. And as meteorologist Tony Chiavaroli had mentioned, we could see our tornado watch expanded a little farther into the Midlands. None of our counties in it right now, but that does have the possibility to change as we get a little later into the afternoon. We're still going to have some very gusty winds out there once we get into the second half of the day. Winds anywhere from 40 to 60 miles per hour are possible. These are gusts, and the better chance at getting a stronger gust, of course, is going to be closer to the low country. Again, places like Orangeburg and Clarendon counties could see some gusts closer to 60 miles per hour a little later in the afternoon. And also some very heavy rain, especially as these outer bands start to build in. You know, Sunday, Monday, and yesterday we had some showers and storms to deal with, so our ground's already saturated. And when we're adding in another 2 to 6 inches of rain on top of that, we could certainly have some flash flooding in certain areas, and trees are also going to be weaker, which is why our chance at some stronger wind gusts could cause for trees to topple over just a little bit easier. So here's a look at the timeline that we've got out there through the rest of the afternoon and into this evening. Noticing especially closer to the 4, 5, and 6 o'clock hour, that's where we're going to start to have the peak opportunities for us to have the best chance at flash flooding, the best chance at us picking up a wind gust that's closer to 50 or 60 miles per hour. And I also think at that point in the afternoon, that's where we'll have the best opportunity for us to pick up a strong gust of wind or even a tornado warning or two, especially closer to Clarendon and Orangeburg counties. But even in Lexington and Richland counties, for example, still have to be weather aware and vigilant for the possibility of a quick tornado warning, though the main threats the closer you get to Columbia are going to be some very heavy rain, as well as some strong gusts of wind. The good news is that as this system has picked up its forward momentum and forward pace, we're starting to see the opportunity to clear out a little bit earlier, especially once we get into 4, 5, and 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Many of us look to be dry, skies clearing, still breezy, but we'll start to filter in some sunshine, and from there, not going to be too bad as we head into the end of the work week and your Labor Day weekend. We'll use First Alert Futurecast. We'll walk you through the rest of the day hour by hour. That's coming up here in just a couple of minutes.
Thanks, Chandler. And as we continue to track Idalia, WIS is sending crews out across the Midlands for team coverage.
That's right. Residents in Bowman in Orangeburg County are preparing for flooding. The intersection of Rail Street and Canal Street in Bowman has a history of floods. We're going to go now to our Chris Joseph. He is live there. So, Chris, what are you seeing right now?
Well, right now, obviously, the rain is coming down. Not a whole lot of wind, obviously, but this really just picked up probably in the last 15 minutes. And this is called Canal Street for a reason, obviously. And here is your canal. Right now, it is looking relatively good. The water remains relatively low, but you can see just through the trees a retention pond that has been slowly increasing, slowly filling up with water since we've been here. And as you touched on, this area has had a significant history of flooding. We were here a few years ago when Hurricane Sally came through. This entire road effectively washed out, and it impacted residents all along the road here coming up to their homes effectively. We got an opportunity to speak with the residents at that home that you're seeing now. They tell me they're going to their aunt's house. They've got to obviously move their dogs. They're hoping to avoid the worst of whatever may come. If you see the smoke in the background, that's a preventative measure. They tell me they are burning trash. Historically, when the waters have come through, it's obviously picked up the trash that's been left on the ground and spread it all across the community. They're trying to avoid that this go round. So again, for the moment, rain coming down, no flooding. Hopefully it stays that way. Reporting in Bowman, Chris Joseph, WIS News 10.
Thanks, Chris. We'll continue our team coverage throughout the day. You can keep up with the latest on our website, WISTV.com. Now is also a good time to download our First Alert weather app to keep up with all the fast changes happening with Idalia. It is free in your phone's app store.
And ahead of Idalia, several school districts have announced schedule changes for today. Some dismissals started at 11:30 this morning. Richland Districts 1 and 2 are set for early dismissal today. Lexington Districts 1, 2, and 4 are also planning on early dismissals, as well as Lexington Richland 5. Now, also in the Midlands, Sumter and Fairfield counties are planning on half days today. Lee and Orangeburg counties are scheduled for early dismissal. And finally, Clarendon County is also set for dismissal early. Well, some school districts have also released schedule changes for Thursday and Friday as well. For a full list, visit our website, WISTV.com.
The City of Columbia is closing some offices early to ensure safety ahead of Idalia. City employees will work remotely today. All offices will close today at 2 p.m. This includes the City of Columbia Municipal Court, Payment Center, and Parks. All after-school programs at the City of Columbia Parks and Recreation facilities are also canceled today. Offices are set to reopen tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Well, the City of Columbia is sharing a list of streets and intersections to avoid during and immediately after heavy rain today. City officials say do not attempt to drive in these areas in the event of flooding. These include Main, Whaley, Gervais, Lawrence, Blossom, Henderson, Hardin, and Two Notch streets, among others. To find the full list, you can visit their website, columbiasc.gov.
And checking on any power outages in our area this afternoon. Right now, there's over 300 people across the state without power. Power outages are not impacting the Midlands right now, but of course, we'll continue to keep you updated. Still ahead on your news at noon, we'll continue to track Idalia and break down timing of those impacts we could see here in the Midlands. We also have the latest from the South Carolina Emergency Management Division, how officials are preparing across the state. WIS Midday comes back in 2 minutes.